Hey, 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 everybody. Great to see you. Awesome to see you, in fact. So, welcome to this little pop up that I got going on here on this Saturday afternoon. Uh, Generally unorganized and messy. This is something that I just kind of came up with the idea about just about an hour ago or so. And haven't actually put anything really together in an organized way as I like it, but I kind of just wanted to experiment with an off the cuff show just for the hell of it. So I hope everybody's doing great. Got 7 people in the studio right now watching, and I'm sure that'll raise up in a few minutes. What's up, Lou Israel? How you doing? That's a new name. I haven't seen that name before. Is that a new viewer, or Lou Israel? Or are you a person who changed your name recently? What's up, Gary, Chris, Kay? Everybody's doing great. I'm even drinking my very rare, extremely rare, once in a blue moon cup of coffee. So I'm all caffeined out this morning. Yeah. So what are we doing today? Well, I, as you know, have become very friendly with, I wouldn't say the institution of the Yonkers Police Department because I'm not friendly with the institution, but I have become very friendly with retired police and in some cases current police of the Yonkers Police Department. And these guys have been really great. So Lou, I just got that message. Thank you so much. I think maybe I'm remembering your name. You don't participate too often, but I kind of remember that name. So great to see you, and of course, thank you so much, Ray J. So and Lou and Patrick. Hey, Ethiopia's in the house. Patrick, I'm actually curious. I was talking about you the other day with a friend because I don't have any other fans in Ethiopia. Are you like a white dude living in Ethiopia? Are you like an Ethiopian? Are you a black dude living in Ethiopia? Like, what's your deal? Because I'm actually curious, like, why someone in Ethiopia would care about Son of Sam here in Yonkers and in the Bronx. So, no, one of the things that I would like to start doing is looking more detailed into, well, what Yonkers police did pre-arrest and post-arrest of David Berkowitz. I think it's important to get all this stuff on the historical record. The documents do exist. We're going to be looking at some of them today. And I think that it's instructive for us to, well, to examine this stuff because um, even, guys in the police department of Yonkers now, they're very conflicted. So Patrick's a black dude from London living in Ethiopia. Cool. All right. Well, good. That's an option that I didn't offer. So so very interesting, Patrick. Thank you. Um why Ethiopia? Maybe I should get you on the show. Like what I watch 90 Day Fiance and I see Binyam in Ethiopia, and Ethiopia actually looks like pretty decent. Not like I remember it as a kid. I remember as a kid, it was like hunger in Africa. And, there was the big joke like you go to an Ethiopian restaurant, you order, you wait 6 months for the for the food. That was like the big truly tasteless jokes back then. Um, in either case, I'm just kind of curious about that, Patrick. I'm always curious about people. Um, all right. So anyway, back to I told you this was a disorganized mess today. Just wanted to experiment with that format a little bit. So even guys in the Yonkers Police Department, former, current, retired, whatever, they're conflicted. They know that, well, they had Berkowitz in their clutches, in their grips. They knew his name. They knew his name for months. They knew he was involved in all sorts of sick stuff, crazy, demented shit. But yet, no one ever braced him. No one ever went up to him, demanded his ID, asked him a question. Nothing. He was never confronted by Yonkers police, um, in any way, shape, or form. Right? Even John McCabe. Like people are like, well, John McCabe was a very active cop with a serious reputation. Wheat Carr was getting harassed. Why like I don't know when they were married though, so that could be a whole other thing. But why in the hell didn't John McCabe himself just go up to the door and just knock on the door? Anyway, it just never happened. And of course, Yonkers police, because of that, Well, essentially allowed, I'm just using that term loosely, okay? I'm using the word allow because it wasn't a conscious thing that they were doing on purpose, but they essentially allowed Berkowitz to continue along on his killing spree, and there were at least two, if not more, victims that we don't know whether they'd be alive today because who knows what would have happened to them from the 70s, heart attack, stroke, vaccine damage. I mean, who knows what would have happened to them, but we can say that, if Yonkers police had intervened a little sooner, maybe there would be a few victims still alive today. So I think everybody can agree on that, regardless of assigning motivations and so on and so forth. So I was looking at this Queens DA dump, and I was looking today at the Yonkers material, and I found quite a bit of it interesting. So I kind of just wanted to kind of go through it, right? I mean, with no real, like, usually I have a topic and I'm very laser focused, but today I kind of just wanted to, well, essentially just kind of go through this. This is the file called Yonkers Police Report Miscellaneous, and there's some interesting stuff in here. Now we got to look at the dates always. Okay, August 3rd, 1977, Intelligence Division. So this is pre-arrest. They had no idea Berkowitz was the son of Sam. So undersigned officer, let's see who that undersigned officer is. Detective William Grogan. Okay, Grogan is one of those cops that were on the Yonkers Police Department who was in this whole Berkowitz thing. So okay, so Grogan received the following information relative to the above titled subject. All right, in other words, received information about Son of Sam. So Yonkers police officer Thomas Brink, Shield 148, informed the undersigned that on October 23rd, 24th, or 25th, 74, he was hunting in the Whitney Lake area of the Adirondack Mountains. Brink further stated that during this time he encountered 3 white males armed only with 44 caliber sidearms. P.O. Brink stated that through conversations with the aforementioned, he ascertained that one of the group was named Rodriguez, worked for a bank in Manhattan, and that the group were expert shots with the large caliber handguns. Brink further stated that he was told by the aforementioned men that they reloaded their own hard ammunition. All right, so basically, this is a police officer saying, 3 years prior he had been in the Adirondacks and there were a couple guys hunting with 44s, which is highly unusual, in my opinion. Of course, I don't know anything about hunting. I'm not a firearms expert, although I'm a big time Second Amendment believer. Guns scare me, quite honestly, and I feel very scared having one in my hand. So I don't really like to be around guns. But in either case, so this is showing that, like, Yonkers was taking this seriously enough to remember and interview an officer from the 3 years before he was, in the Adirondacks and remembered this thing happening. So, you know, again, August 12th. All right. So this is after the arrest. Interesting right here. Okay. Richie Sparazza, a name that has come up before in our investigation. We were actually the first people to ever bring up Richie Sparazza's name. This was last year when we did it on the Rothstein Files show. Maybe some of you will remember last year that I had hooked up with Detective Rothstein, and he really took to us. He loved what we were doing. He really enjoyed the video series, and he decided to help us exclusively, more than he's ever helped anyone else out in this regard. And of course, a lot of that was facilitated by the great Eric Galati, who was personal friends with Detective Rothstein, and Rothstein sent us a whole bunch of his papers, and in those papers there was a paper with like Yonkers names on it. Maybe you guys remember. I actually maybe I'll let me hold on. Remember today is a messy show, so I'm not going to worry about, like, I'm going to try to find that. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Rothstein. Yeah, I think I have it right here. Yeah, right here. Okay, give me a second. So this was the Rothstein file that we had gotten Richie's name from. And we showed this got to you last year, and this is obviously some form of this is Maury Terry's handwriting up here. And these were New York names, and we're not exactly sure of what was going on here, but these were names that were being bandied about as, Dr. Godusek, Scout. You guys all remember the Scout days. Remember when Scout was thought to be a member of the 22 Disciples of Hell, and Tommy Dorr, and here's Jim Donovan, who's the purported Mr. Real Estate. Well, right down here, Richie Sparazza. Okay, white male, about 30 in the mid 70s. And out of all of these names, okay, the only one that ever got any legs was, of course, Richie Sparazza, because his names were in the he's in the Queens DA dump, first of all, and in an audio recording, and he also was interviewed in the newspaper as a person who worked with David Berkowitz, and they drove together all the time to work. In fact, out of all the people who hung out with Berkowitz, only Richie Sparazza has come up as hanging out with him on the famous and infamous December 24th, 1976, the night that Rocket was shot. We're not saying that he was the getaway driver, but they were hanging out that day, so the possibility does exist. Sparazza knew Berkowitz's car very well. They had used each other's cars to drive up to work. So in either case, that was our speculation. So this thing deals with Sparazza. Interesting. So on the above date, Captain William Camp, CO North Patrol Command, came to the offices of this division and advised Sergeant Cogan of the information contained in the attached report submitted by police officers Verne and Cann'd. New York City Police Department Intelligence Division, Sergeant McCabe, notified of the information contained in the aforementioned report. After perusal of the Verne Cann'd report, a background investigation of the subject Richie Sparazza, 1 Remsen Circle. Okay, so now this is extremely interesting. Because and hey Gary, how you doing? I didn't acknowledge you before. I just wanted to make sure that we got you named here. This is interesting because how come we never knew that Sparazza was investigated both by Yonkers and by New York City? It's saying here in stark terms that New York City Intelligence Division notified of the information contained in the report, the following on Richie Sparazza. So they were looking into Richie Sparazza. Well, what date was this? August 12th, 1977. One day after the arrest of David Berkowitz, Yonkers Police Department was looking into allegations of accomplices in the Son of Sam crimes. So don't tell me that Yonkers didn't do anything, okay? Yonkers was on this before Maury Terry was. Let's see what they found out. The following information was ascertained. Richie Salvatore Sparazza, current address. This is a private house with a mortgage held by Community Savings. Okay, just so you know, that should be spelled mortgage, and that's a very minor error. But this is instructive to help you understand that police do make errors in these reports, okay? Police are not infallible. They make errors, okay? The non-published license plate listed in the Verne Cann'd, 546 HDP, Georgette Sparazza. Again, I'm just trying to find like the pertinent information. The above information was made available to Detective Richard Salveson, New York City Police Department, and the following information imparted by Salveson. It is alleged that the subject Sparazza has a 1974 arrest for a sex crime in the Bronx, disposition not known at this time. It is further alleged that Sparazza has a current NYC hack license. Okay, so sex crime, alleged, and a cab driver. August 15th. On this date, the undersigned officers learned that Sparazza had been interviewed on the 13th and 14th by Inspector Dowd. Hey, wait, how come we didn't know this? So NYPD on August 13th had already investigated and questioned Sparazza. Okay. Contact was established who stated that it was the opinion of the NYCPD task force and that he concurred that Richard Sperrazza was not a party to any of the criminal acts committed by David Berkowitz. So that's interesting. So NYPD on the 13th of August, 2 days after the arrest, had already interviewed and cleared Richie Sperrazza. So why was this guy's name still being bandied about to this day? Well, because none of us knew, and because Maury Terry either didn't know this or left this out of his book. It wasn't in the book, but Richie was alleged in the book many, many times. um One of the people who came and emptied out his apartment, who got his mail. Richie was alleged to be a getaway driver at several of the incidents, and so on and so forth. Hell, when I went public with Richie's name the first time, I had a very well-known Son of Sam researcher over on the Facebook group. I had her husband call me and threaten me physically with bodily violence for putting out his name. Which I thought was very interesting, that a person allegedly looking into Son of Sam truth would have a violent reaction to somebody trying to, find out what was going on. But in either case, it looks like NYPD looked into this guy and, well, found nothing. All right, let's see what next. This is the according to Intervallo, the affirmation. All right, this basically says nothing here other than, they basically concurred. All right, what's this? To notify of same, notified Cavallo about investigation, picked up. All right, that doesn't say anything. While on RLC patrol, what date is this? 8/11. The undersigned observed an unknown white male whom he believed bore a strong resemblance to the August 9th police sketch of Son of Sam murder suspect, bearing in mind and personal opinion, at least there have been what believed to have been variances to a market. I don't even know what this is saying. Central Avenue. They're on Central Avenue, 2500 Central Avenue, the day after the arrest. I'm not quite sure what is being said here. Continue. Suspect appearance. Our conclusion is Son of Sam may be more than one man, which may be acting in total concert. With this opinion in mind, our questioning of aforementioned white male who volunteered to speak with us revealed the following subject's name: Richard Sperrazza. Okay, so we're back to Richie again. Richard Sperrazza, who appeared in a disarrayed condition, clothing, hair, advised us that he, in fact, one, does know the arrested David Berkowitz. Okay, so all right, hold on. We gotta back up here. All right, so this is going on. What's happening here, because this is all the same police report, 43742, 43742. Okay, so what they're doing is they're investigating Sperrazza's involvement in Son of Sam, probably because they read his name in the paper as hanging out with David Berkowitz, and he looked like the sketch. It says here, bearing the sketch resemblance. So it's looking like they did speak to Sperrazza. They spoke to him. The Yonkers police spoke to him on the 11th, 2 days before NYPD. And Sperrazza said to them, 1, he does know the arrested David Berkowitz. 2, he is a friend of Berkowitz. 3, Sperrazza has eaten at his house and has been in his company at various times since March 1976 to May 77, whereas they had worked together, sheet metal work, at the Wolf and Munier Company of 525 Executive Boulevard, Elmsford, New York. Mr. Sperrazza expressed his reasons for divulging foregoing information to us due to his fear of someone getting to him or his small child. We believe in the possible event that this man is or may be further involved. There may be a third person also involved, or 2, he may believe that Berkowitz may talk and also involve him, Sperrazza, as a possible principal who may be directly involved in the crimes in question. Thus, his possible reasoning of speaking to a sign may be an attempt to throw any possible suspicion off of himself. Subject has I can't read that. Driven a dark colored car, listing available. All right. So this is kind of interesting, actually. So this is again Yonkers PD fairly extensively looking into Speraza. Okay. We had never heard that they did this before. I never knew this before. NYPD and Yonkers PD looked into Speraza. NYPD said he was not a subject of the investigation, that he had nothing to do with it. We read that earlier. On the day of the arrest, the day after the arrest, Yonkers is actually thinking that he had something to do with this. Okay. Or thinking that the possibility existed. It says that right here. We believe in the possible event that this man is or may be further involved. There may be a third person also involved, or he may be believed that Berkowitz may talk. So Yonkers was definitely looking into the possibility of third people, second people, accomplices. Very interesting. Berkowitz won't aid in new SAM probe. Okay, that is just an article. We don't have to. All right, what's this? August 4th. So this is a week before the arrest. We are in the office of Lieutenant Martin Hardin, anti-crime squad. There we got the Grogan, white female known as Doreen. Doreen has come to Lieutenant Hardin and offered some information regarding which may be relative to the person. All right, so this is a woman who is saying that she was at a discotheque on June 28th. And that there was a guy, I read this before actually. There was a guy who came up and started bothering them. Okay. Now, I'm not going to read this whole thing. You know why? Because one, it's long. Hey, Eric. Good to see you, Eric. Glad you made it in. But it says here, and it says he's not Hispanic, right? And he's white. So you get all excited, right? And you're thinking it was Berkowitz. They were talking to Berkowitz. And then it says that he was like a blonde dude. All right. And they thought he was from Scandinavia. His hair was blonde. It wasn't a wig or, oh God, I'm not even showing this to you. Duh. His hair was blonde. It wasn't a wig or anything. Real hair, blonde, true blonde. So let me go back because I want to show you the first page of this. So this was again, they're interviewing a woman named Doreen who was at a place called Hoops Discotheque on June 28th, 77. And so she's talking bothering her, Corlear Avenue, which is actually right near where I am, Pelham Bay area. And they thought it was him from the description in the newspapers. But his hair was blonde, and they thought he was from Scandinavia. Okay, so they were not talking about Berkowitz. So therefore, this entire police report is essentially useless for us. Okay, did he have a belly? No, not really. His eyes were like crystal. That was kind of very similar to Berkowitz, almost piercing. They were light blue or gray, which is light Berkowitz. But they thought that he was, well, I thought more of a Swedish because of the blonde hair and his fair complexion. So that is not Berkowitz they're describing. And I think we can safely, totally discount this. All right, what's this? All right, so this is August 5th. This is the Yonkers Police Department saying what they're looking for. Now, now, this is a day after they spoke to this woman. So now they're looking for Son of Sam. White male, 5'9", 160 pounds, blonde hair, neatly combed, blonde mustache, blue eyes, and here's their sketch of Son of Sam right here, okay, which looks more like, looks actually like Craig Glassman than Son of Sam. Uh-oh. Manny said that looks like Craig Glassman. Oh my God. Manny said Glassman's involved. Manny said that because that picture looks like Glassman, that Glassman did it. Glassman was involved. No, I'm just saying that the Yonkers Police Department were putting out something, they were throwing shit at the wall to seeing what would stick. Okay, Glassman was not involved in Son of Sam, guys. Okay, the truth is a lot more mundane. My friend John Catalano says, Manny, the truth is somewhere in the middle. It's It's not as boring as you think, and it's not as exciting as Maury. And maybe I can get with that. But right now, my opinion is Son of Sam is actually a rather boring story, right? I mean, I hate to say it to you guys. It's actually rather pedestrian. A guy who went nuts and started killing people. Um, I mean, why is it so hard to believe? It happens all the time, right? Anyway. All right. So David Berkowitz, August 16th. So this is after the arrest. All right. So while on desk duty, the assigned received a phone call from a female who refused to give her name. She stated that she had been in the area of 35 Pine Street today, August 16th, after the arrest at about 4 p.m. and saw Craig Glassman entering the garage there. She also observed a second man who was seated in the car who was observing Glassman. Oh my God. She further stated that this man was smiling and staring, and she feels that there is a strong resemblance between the early sketches of Son of Sam and this person. Uh-oh. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is the smoking gun right here. Glassman. He was involved. 4 days after the arrest, he was in a car talking to a man who looked like a sketch. I knew it. I knew it the whole time. This is the smoking gun right here. Glassman was involved. No, actually, Glassman is allowed to sit in a car with someone, and the person in the car is allowed to look like a sketch of Son of Sam, and it doesn't have to mean anything. And who was this person? And if Glassman was involved, how come he was never prosecuted? Everyone said he was the most helpful guy in the world. I mean, this is where the conspiracy theorists can take these reports and then you see what you can do with these reports, right? If you're an unscrupulous lying bastard, right? You can take these and spin them into any way you want. Now, I know what people are going to say, Manny, you're doing the same thing. Well, I don't know. My opinion is Berkowitz most likely acted alone, and that the Son of Sam crimes were rather boring and pedestrian. So therefore, I'm not seeing anything very, very major in this, right? I mean, people are allowed to sit in their car talking to people. I mean, why wouldn't Glassman be in a car? He had just had the most intense experience of his life. Why wouldn't he be talking to people? Anyway. So this person was Tompkins, and we had never heard of Robert Tompkins again. Okay, so therefore that went nowhere, and it was another one of these things where people get so excited over nothing. Okay, so Berkowitz, this is August 18th. Baker, Kennedy, Lorenzo, and Oakley. Contained within the report are the investigation are the names Jack and Nan Casera. See, they spelled that name wrong. All right, so these are the complaints. A lot of the stuff we had seen from the Lorenzo reports. We were the first person to bring those things to you last year. Of course, lost in the mix now because all this amazing new stuff has come out. But people forget that it was our video series that brought you a lot of this stuff for the first time. We brought you the Lorenzo files. We brought you the Berkowitz letters. We brought you the Serlac-Sarasi document. And was all these things that when that allowed us 6 months before Queen's DA came out to start to paint our picture of Berkowitz as lone gunman, Berkowitz as demented lunatic on Wicker Street and Pine Street, and and so on and so forth. All right, so copies again. From the above, it would appear that the Wicker Street gang and the person referred to as Joaquin in the Berkowitz writing would be Joaquin Neto. See, that's actually wrong. It was Joaquin Gonzalo. That's who he was referring to as the Joaquin in the letters. So that's actually incorrect. It should be noted that all of the complainants previously referred to were owners of noisy dogs, with the exception of Craig Glassman, who Berkowitz said played his writings. See, now this is an important thing too. Everybody remembers the Carr family, right? Because there was their talking dog, Harvey, that spoke to Berkowitz through Sam, and that's what the people who became famous. But it could have easily gone the other way. In fact, the Nettos could have easily been as famous as the Carrs. except their dog was dead by the time, so it wasn't talking to Berkowitz. But you should remember from our Neto work that Teresa Ramos, who we called Diana because she didn't want to be, but her name's now out there, so we're just going to say it. She was in our video series. She explicitly said that Berkowitz called many times complaining about their barking dog. Okay, so Berkowitz was having issues with the Neto dog. He was having issues with the car dog, um, and he was doing much more violent stuff to the actual Neto family than he was doing to the cars. So in either case, it's only by luck that the Neto family sort of went under the radar with all of this stuff. Right, exactly. Nikozmas. The rumor of the group of killers started because the different sketches before Berkey was arrested. Exactly. That's what got all the armchair sleuths in New York City and beyond going nuts. And of course, we know now, and people should have known back then because the cops knew it, and the cops tell me this all the time. Sketches are useless for identification. Anybody hanging their hat on the cult thesis over the sketches is a pure moron. Okay, straight up. All right, what's this? August 29th, 1977, a couple of weeks after the arrest. Officers responded to the office of Carl Falcone, copy of all reports. All right, so they gave Falcone a copy. All right, March 8th, 1978. So this is like 6 months after the arrest or so. On the night of August 10th, the assigned had contacted, requested they have in their vehicle a battering ram. All right, so this is just nothing major. This is just talking about going to Pine Street. Again, this was a messy show. Okay, here we go. Sparaza. Here's more stuff on Sparaza. Let me just, and of course, I'm not even showing it to you. I'm such a, God. I get so into it, reading it, that I forget that it's not on the screen. Duh. You didn't miss anything. Assign this date. Here we go. So this is supplementary August 13th. So this was right around that same time that Sparaza was getting interviewed by Yonkers and New York PD. Assign this date directed by Captain Jones to assist NYPD 109 under command of Inspector Dowd to 1 Ransom Circle, a private house, to conduct an interview with one Mr. Sparaza in relation to the 44 caliber case. A sign went to the location where NYCPD detectives identified themselves and an interview took place. At approximately 11:40 this date, a sign learned from NYCPD that interview was over and they were returning to their command. A sign was not present. No arrest took place, and officers stated that they would inform this department. Blah blah blah. Nothing crazy. So that was Lorenzo. That was Mike's father right there. Okay. So Mike's father was heavily involved in this, and he was now we're seeing he's involved with Sparaza. August 12th. The detail of his apartment is going to be removed. All right, no big deal. We don't have to go through it. All right, so this is the sketch that looks exactly like Patrick O'Shaughnessy, apparently, down to the eyebrows, the angular chin, the nose, hairstyle. By the way, guys, I just found out that, from my good friend John Catalano that the Brooklyn site is actually closed. They're doing renovations, which is really bad news, because I fear that they're going to remove all the original fixtures, lighting, hydrants, sidewalks, fences. So we may be too late to the Brooklyn scene, guys. Okay, just letting you know that now. It's not to mean it doesn't mean that we can't still get out there and do our thing. But what we're going to have to do is we're going to have historical photographs, making sure that we're in the right spot, and we're also going to and it's not going to look the same, which is very unfortunate. But like I said this whole time, the shootings were of very little concern to me as a researcher. My whole deal was Yonkers, 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 and I think that actually has borne out to be a great move on my part, because we've effectively shown that there was nothing happening in Yonkers except one man wigging out on Pine Street about his neighbors. And as someone put in there before, escalating. until what started out as the Neto crimes then ended up as the as Son of Sam. It's funny because in the police reports for the Netos, Joaquin Neto said we were the original victims of Son of Sam. That's the same thing I've been saying now for 8 to 9 months, that the Netos were the first Son of Sam victims. And I still believe their timeline. Sorry, guys. I know that all you guys out there are, you thought you got me. You thought you got Manny with those police reports. Well, maybe in your mind you did, but in my mind you didn't. I still believe that the harassment started in late 74. I don't believe a family can forget stuff like that. All right. So anyway, all right. So the undersigned shot dog. Okay, hold on one second. August 11th. Okay, the undersigned, while investigating reports of threatening letters and a report of a shot dog, became suspicious of a subject, namely the above titled David Berkowitz. DD notified at the time Kennedy and Baker during the investigation that the undersigned, after conducting a background check on Berkowitz, began to feel that there was a distinct possibility he was Son of Sam. All right. Who were the undersigned here? So on 8/5/77, Yonkers was convinced that they were Son of Sam, that David Berkowitz was Son of Sam. So let's first find who the undersigned are. Chamberlain and Intervallo. Okay, the guys in our thumbnail. So the famous 2 Yonkers policemen who got credit for taking down Berkowitz. This is their police report talking about that. And again, nothing major here. Glassman, Fire, Lorenzo, and listen. You guys should really be reading this stuff on your own. Because you shouldn't rely on me and my team to interpret this stuff, to bring it to you. You should do this research on your own, and then come to us with your thoughts, and maybe we can see where we all are together. Okay. All right. None of this is anything Victoria. All right. So this is 22 Wicker Street, 10 to 17 youths, 10-17 youths. That must have been a code. Rogers and Wargaki, same 2 cops that were assigned to the Harvey Carr shooting. Vittorio Bernardi of 22 Wicker Street. What was going on? Disorderly youths, upon arriving, spoke to Vittorio Bernardi, who said that a person threw a rock at his house, causing damage. Okay, so on 4/12/77, rocks were still being thrown at these 2 houses. So again, I'm just trying to figure out if Tommy Three Fingers is a troll or not. So again, these houses were being hit by rocks by youths. And I said to you guys in my Neto show that I am conceding the rock throwing at the Netos that had nothing to do with Berkowitz. That was most likely local youths. Okay. Shot fires. Pine Street. Oh, there was a shot fired at Pine Street, possibly. When was this? 5/15/77. Shot fired. So 3 months before the arrest. Shot fired. Sent to above location, complains of shot fired on the 4th floor. Question Gail Henry, Michael Gerard, and Ramon Rodriguez. They all stated they heard no shots fired. All right, so it wasn't having anything to do with Berkowitz. Wicker and Aqueduct, shots fired. And this was when? 6/16. Interesting, a month and a day after the original shots fired. Okay, sent by CNR to the above location. Shots fired upon arrival was sector 10B. The assigned checked the area and found no one in the area. Unfounded at this time. All right, Tommy, cool. I'm very sensitive to the weather and the energy of people's comments. All right. So here's the directive, September 22nd, 1977, telling Chamberlain and Intervallo to shut the F up. They are not to discuss any aspect of the David Berkowitz case to any outside police agencies, news media, or any other individuals. It's interesting because there's residues of this that exist to this day. In my previous iteration as real-time true crime we had gotten in touch with I forget whether it was the Intervallo or Chamberlain kids. I think it was the Chamberlain kids. They wouldn't talk. They said, my father was directed not to speak to the news media. We are respecting his memory and we're not going to talk to you. Okay. So it's interesting how that all, it's intergenerational to this day. Okay, April 9th, 1977, April 4th, date of this report, September 9th. Okay, so this is after the arrest. District attorney. Okay, I don't know what any of that means, but it's nothing major. What's this? Okay, now here's something actually extremely interesting. So on September 27th, 1977, okay, on this date, the undersigned was advised by Detective Sarasi of this division that the following personnel from the District Attorney's Office of the County of Brooklyn, Eric, I think you're going to want to pay attention to this. Detective Inv McNish and Detective Investigator Lopez and Dr. David Abramson, a psychiatrist detained by the district attorney, had come to this detective division and wished to interview one Sam Carr and one Wheat Carr, both of Yonkers, concerning the Son of Sam case. Okay, again, I'm not going to go through every line. I have a good ability to just pick out what's important here, so just trust my judgment on that. The interview with Sam Carr commenced by Dr. Abramson. All right, so we have an interview of the Carrs by Abramson. Where's the report of that? Where's the transcript of that? I was present in the lie detector room of this division throughout the interview. The questions presented by Dr. Abramson were general in nature, pertaining to the events that preceded and were subsequent to the arrest of Berkowitz. The interview ended at approximately 15-20 hours this date, whereas Dr. Abramson stated that he would follow the request of Mr. Richardson and submit a letter should he desire to interview Wheat Carr at a later date. Maureen, Berkowitz got out of the Army in June of 1974, apparently. Okay. All right. So Abramson, Eric, you and I have something to talk about. Abramson was interviewing the Carrs. No record of that anywhere in the historical record. This is interesting. And that's what's so wonderful about reading these documents line by line, because there's a lot of little things that we can glean. Like, what did we learn in today's show? We learned that the NYPD and YPD investigated and cleared Richie Sperrazza by the 14th of August. So why his name was on that paper by Maury Terry is beyond me. Okay, Abramson, at this point, we should look into the area. All right, so Abramson here. Abramson is going up to the Pine Street area to look at the area. Okay. Hey, Dr. Abramson did, in fact, Mrs. Netto in the presence of the undersigned officer in regards to what incidents had taken place in respect with her dog and her fire. And then same were taken to 35 Pine Street, where we were unable to gain entrance into apartment 7A. I don't know why they were going into 7A, 7B. Sorry. Yeah. Eric, let me give you the, here, if anybody wants to call in, feel free. Get on my headset. Oh, whoops. No, I actually, duh. Forget that. That's the link to the files. Hold on. Which, of course, please go check out. There's the link to the room. So this is extremely interesting. It looks like Abramson interviewed the Carrs, both Sam and Wheat, and Mrs. Netto. You know, it's funny because I have so many follow-up questions for the Nettos now, but Sylvia went silent. I don't know what happened. Maybe she was told not to talk to me anymore. I'm going to give her another call soon. Eric, what's up? Hold on one second.
Hi.
How are you?
Okay. Can you see me?
Yeah, you look very Halo-like today, but there's something that I like about it. So don't.
I didn't close the blind. I'm sorry. This was just all in a rush. No, that's a fantastic find. Now, I'm on a site where all the papers of Dr. Abrahamson's research are available at the
Oh,
Columbia University Library's archival collections. And the subjects, one of them is David Richard Berkowitz, 1953 till now.
right. Yeah,
So his research files are all available.
at Columbia, maybe we're gonna have to go figure out a way to get those files and find out. Hold on 1 second. I just want to clear something up. No, John, I'm not saying that. See, this is how things can get out of hand and go to conspiracy land. I said maybe she was told not to talk to me. I don't know. All I know is that I've been trying to reach Sylvia for a while now, and she just doesn't ever call me back. Okay. And before that, we were like best friends. She said how much she loved the video series and how much it gave them closure. So I'm not quite sure what happened. Maybe some backroom dealing with some of my former people in Yonkers. Who knows?
There in the private chat, I have the link.
Okay, so let me get on that, and then let me share this with the audience. Hold on. Share Chrome tab. All right, so here is the here's that guys, the Columbia Papers, and 1906 to 1990, David Berkowitz. Let's see what happens when I press that. David Abramson Papers, and so on and so forth. So it looks like these papers, if they exist, might be in the Columbia University archives.
Yeah, I think from what I've understood, going to another page of it the other day, is that I had mentioned it before, but quickly, I think you have to make an appointment to go and see them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they can be archived, but what year is this exactly that Abrahamson goes there to visit the NATOs and everyone? What year are we dealing with?
September 27th, 1977. Let me get that back up again. Hold on.
Okay, so this is before Berkowitz's sentencing.
Correct.
And it seems that he really was intent, Abrahamson, in being a kind of psychiatrist sleuth.
Yes.
The way the lawyer Perry Mason is also a sleuth. He does also investigative work. He just doesn't say, I'm a doctor of medicine. Like Perry Mason says, I'm a lawyer, leave it to the cops to investigate. He goes forward to investigate Abrahamson. It's very interesting, this. I mean, I would love to know more of his background.
I want to read his interview with the Nettos. I think
Yeah.
that's important history right there. I think that's extremely important Son of Sam history.
Yeah, and it's, you see, I'm still curious about why he later tells Berkowitz. Look at this. Look, this just came to my mind. This guy really wants to know Abrahamson. He goes and investigates a number of people. Does he look into Richie Sparazzo also?
I don't believe so.
Okay, but he looks into quite a few. He does quite a good investigation, it seems.
He's not really looking into, like, I don't know if that's the right term to use. I'm not sure he was actually looking into any of these people, but he was curious about their story.
Yeah.
I think that's a more accurate way to put it, because when you
it.
say, yeah,
He was gathering information,
correct,
being able to correctly say whether this man was competent to stand trial or not.
and if you think about it, Eric, it's perfect that he would be asking for those people, because look at who Berkowitz was perseverating about in all his crazy letters, Wicker Street and the cars.
Yeah, and this is 1977, well before Maury Terry.
Right.
Well before. Yeah. So in his letter, so that means he also has the letters of Berkowitz with regards to the NATO family.
Most likely, especially since he was working for the district attorney's office. I would imagine that they released all that stuff to him immediately.
Would it be fair to say at this time, Abrahamson wanted really to get at the truth of what he was involved with?
I think so. I mean, what would be his other motivation?
I think he wanted the truth, but this is what causes a perplexing question for me. Why later on in the correspondence, in the few letters we have that he gives to Berkowitz, it's mostly Berkowitz to him. We don't have Abrahamson's, the entire replies of Abrahamson to Berkowitz. Why does he applaud him, so to speak, for not refusing to be interrogated by the Queen's District Attorney's Office from 1979 to 1980? What would be the harm in doing that when they investigated every Tom, Dick, and Harry available?
You're right. I mean, they talk about that in the files. It all comes down to the cult thesis. And we're going to get to that on one of our shows soon. But Berkowitz essentially says that there was no cult, there was no accomplices. He didn't know John Carr. And Abramson, you and I pronounce it a little slightly differently. And Abramson congratulates Berkowitz for not participating with this. What I'm paraphrasing, but what he essentially called like a trial in lunacy. I mean, there was nothing there. I mean,
Yeah, I find that very strange. I find it very strange. What I mean, he said that the man is not I was discussing this with Dr. Ron Chase, Ronald Morton Chase, the psychiatrist.
Mhm.
He said, you read the letters. I don't want to be mitigated. I don't want to be prejudiced if I read it. If you read it, I receive it from you. This Abrahamson, or Abramson in English, he seems to want, he seems to say that he definitely says Berkowitz is not a psychotic. Therefore, he's not insane clinically, and he can stand trial. He's competent.
Mhm.
Therefore, if he's saying this guy is competent, what is the concern for him in one in him? Did he tell Berkowitz not to do it before he compliments him? We don't know that. Couldn't
I
he?
don't know. Yeah, we're gonna have to. I think we're gonna have to do that show soon, Eric. Maybe as early as next week, because it's very, very prescient, and it's extremely important in my opinion. So, Eric, I want to carry on with this. Do you have any final questions
No, no.
or
Well,
statements?
listen, there's so much that's been coming in. We have these on file. These
Oh
apologies.
yeah, this is Yonkers Police Reports Miscellaneous, all parts of the Yonkers arrest files.
It's all part of the People versus David Berkowitz. Yeah, that's
Correct.
right. I saw the Yonkers. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'll see you for Psychiatric Sunday tomorrow.
Thanks, Eric. Definitely. We're
Okay.
gonna have a
God
good
bless
one.
everybody. Thank you very much.
You got it, Eric. Talk to you soon.
Bye bye.
I always cut people off right when they're saying goodbye. Eric, that didn't feel right to me. Eric, say bye again. We didn't have his audio, but we saw his mouth move. So anyway, all right. So this is so moving right along here. Yeah, and what Eric and I were talking about is one of the most interesting parts of the psychiatric files, because the cult thesis is starting to come into focus, and little hints of it are starting to wend their way into Berkowitz's consciousness. And my opinion is his initial reactions are the most truthful, and his initial reactions, as we will see, is he's like, I don't know John Carr, I didn't know that guy. I mean, so Maureen, just real quick, I want to let Maureen and everyone else know, okay? The best way, so the show's tomorrow at 11, okay? And I don't mean to single out Maureen. So please, Maureen, do not think that I'm trying to single you out. However, my dear, I just want to point out to people that people of the world, that I do have a Twitter account. Okay, and that Twitter is I'm going to put it in the chat right now. Please go there and follow me, because all show announcements, that's the only way that you get show announcements. Okay, it's my only social media, and they're all here. I'm going to let you guys, we got some amazing shows coming up. Stuff that's going to just blow your freaking minds. All right, so let's get back the police reports. So this is interesting here. The undersigned also on this date. So the undersigned is Sarasi, okay, famous Yonkers detective who we all know by now. Spoke to Wheat Carr in regards to her dog being x-rayed recently. At this point, Wheat Carr related that the dog was x-rayed on September 20th at the Animal Medical Center on East 62nd Street, FDR Drive. I wonder why they took the dog so far away. Wasn't there an animal veterinary office closer to Yonkers? And further, the x-ray was not done to determine the caliber, but to see if the bullet had shifted from its original position, which proved to be negative. All right. So we have uh, uh, proof here of where the dog was taken, FDR Drive, 62nd Street, which is a little strange to me, but all right, to each their own. And we also have here that there was no way that we could have known the caliber of the bullet, according to this police report. Okay, but she was very sure in the that it was a 44, which we don't think it was. All right. The undersigned, directed by D.O. Giannico to interview one John Weiland, male, white, 20 years of age, regarding possible information regarding the Berkowitz case. So this is 79, all right? So this is when the cult stuff started coming out. He stated to the undersigned responded and thereat spoke with John Weiland, who stated that on this date he was reading an article, the Herald Statesman. So he's reading the article Maury wrote, and did in fact observe an article regarding a possible second suspect in the Stacy Moskowitz murder. He stated to the undersigned that after the arrest of David Berkowitz, he was at a house in Harrison as a painter, and thereat met a white male known only to him by the first name of James, who gave the description as a male white 25-year-old, skinny, 6'1", having a beard, shoulder-length black hair, hippie-type dress, who was a cleanup man for a contractor. He further stated that this subject did in fact drive a yellow Volkswagen, and on numerous occasions while he was employed at this location, this subject named James has stated to him after the arrest of Berkowitz that he in fact knew Berkowitz, had spoken to him in the elevator on several occasions at his home, and used to call him Berkey. He further related that the subject also told him that his mother lived at that location, and this was the reason that on several occasions he spoke to Berkowitz. John Weiland felt that during the course of the time that he knew him, he was a very jumpy person, did erratic things, and on one occasion he brought a long butcher knife to his place of employment and stated to him that people were after him and it was going to be either them or him. I think we just found a major document in the Son of Sam history. This was the document that Maury Terry used. This James here that they're talking about is James Cann'd, C-A-N-N. Again, this is just my knowledge of the case and the stupid conspiracy. Maury Terry spoke about this guy. He wrote about him in the epilogue, that there was a guy named James who was real personal, saying, it's going to be either them or me, man. And that he knew David Berkowitz, and that he was this. Here's the police report that Maury used. Look at how he selectively edited it. This James had a mother who lived in 35 Pine Street. That was the reason for going to the house. While at 35 Pine, he probably met David Berkowitz. Just like when I go to buildings often when I'm visiting my parents, I see some of the same people, and I strike up conversations with them. Now, my parents live in a walk-up. We don't have an elevator. But I should say they don't have an elevator, but it doesn't matter. In nowhere do I get any impression that this guy was involved with Berkowitz in the crime, yet Maury Terry named this guy as a member of the 22 Disciples of Hell. Oh my God, I can't believe I just found this. So James Cann'd, go read the epilogue of The Ultimate Evil and see how Maury portrays this guy, and then come back to page 37 of the Yonkers police reports and state that and see that the guy's mother lived in the building. He knew Berkowitz only because of going there. Yeah, all right. Could he be lying? Yeah, maybe. But how come there was no follow-up investigation? How come James never heard of again? And just because he was jumpy and thinking that there were people after him, look, he was a shoulder length hippie type dress, cleanup man for a contractor. This guy was probably bombed out on drugs. We just found a major piece of Son of Sam contradictory, and this was on a mess of a show that I didn't even plan. Okay, here we go. Here's more about this guy, James. Let's see. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. He further related that on several times he became very nervous and stating to Mr. Weiland that he did not want to hurt someone or himself, and did in fact walk off the job during the course of the conversations. All right, so the guy's nuts. All right, he's mentally ill. During the course of the above conversation, Mr. Weiland tried to get out of him what the problem was and who the people that were after him, but he would never confide in anybody at his place of employment. But upon being asked these questions, he asked several times if anybody knew where he could purchase a firearm, but would give no explanation to the same. Again, who cares? This was 1977. This was Yonkers. Listen to the way Mike Lorenzo describes it. There was a nut on every corner. You couldn't throw a rock without hitting a nut. This is another one of those nuts, okay, who thinks that the world's after him. Pretty common, okay? So far, I see nothing in here. This is the James from The Ultimate Evil. Paul, great to see you. Just want to see if we're on the same page, Paul. Do you agree with me that this is James Cann'd that's being spoken about, the guy from The Ultimate Evil epilogue? Okay. The undersigned attempted to locate one Jim Rosenblum, who Mr. Weiland stated was the owner of the house with the painting. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm just kind of reading through this. All right, so nothing in here saying, so they were investigating this guy for being involved with Berkey. He knew Berkowitz's nickname. So freaking what? Okay, so Paul agrees with me that this was the James that they were talking about, The Ultimate Evil. So I could have done a show just on this, but I didn't even realize that we were going to read this today. So we just debunked another major cultist in The Ultimate Evil, James Cann'd. Okay, so knock him off the list. All right, so what do we got here? All right, so they were reenacting the arrest. Again, nothing in here. This was May 1st, 1978. They just reenacted the arrest. No big deal. All right, blah, blah, blah. Okay. October 11th, 1977. The undersigned officers, in continuing the investigation in David Berkowitz, met with one Andrew Hudak, based in an apartment. Okay, so I'm not gonna read it. I'm just gonna sort of paraphrase. So he worked with Berkowitz and had been in his company on several occasions. In questioning Mr. Hudak, that in February is the first time so these two worked together at the post office. The undersigned asked him if he had any pertinent information about him. Okay. All right. So here's another lunatic, Andrew Holdak, who writes letters to the police about parking tickets. He further related that he had a problem of this sort since childhood and also where he was released. So, all right. So what's going on is, all right. So it says here, he wrote this letter. He was annoyed with the parking violations he had received near his house on Mulberry Street. And sometimes when he's taking a cold shower and the hot water hits him, he gets amnesia. All right. So this is a lunatic who was friends with Berkowitz, who wrote crazy letters because he got parking tickets to someone. But it has, again, nothing to do with Berkowitz, nothing to do with the Son of Sam. All right. Here, the undersigned officers, in concluding this investigation, believe that at this time it is not imperative that NYPD be contacted due to the insufficient information and the facts relating to same regarding that of Andrew Hudak. So here's the letter. Here's the letter that Andrew Hudak wrote to the cops. And you can read it on your own. I read it before. There's really nothing in here that's major. There is one more. There are some more files that I want to show you real quick, guys. Real quick. It's very interesting stuff. And then we'll end today's thing. Give me a second here. Arrest files. Okay, here we go. We got pictures of Berkowitz's car, which I think are very, very cool. Okay, good. All right. So these are in the files too, 13 pages of photographs of Berkowitz's car in front of Yonkers. There's the house that I filmed last year with the two pillars on it. That hedge is no longer there today. There's the van. Uh-oh. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. There's a van there. There's people in there filming. I knew it. There's the van. They're filming a snuff film that no one's ever seen, no one ever heard about. I mean, give me a break with this snuff film crap. All right. So there's the famous 561 XLB. This is the car that Jim Fay and John Rinciari chased around the Bronx, Pelham Parkway, and they ran those plates, the famous Ford Galaxy. Actually, a very cool looking car, in my opinion. great looking dashboard. I remember my grandmother had a Chevy Malibu. It was huge. It looked just like this. It was maybe like a 72 or 3. She kept it in perfect shape. It was garaged. It was looked like brand new. It had like 10,000 miles on it. But I remember driving that thing in the 90s. It was like a boat. You didn't actually control it. You sort of just like tipped it in the right direction, and and it went to where you wanted to go. Like these cars, I don't understand how people weren't getting into major accidents with these cars back then. They had no response. Like you turn the wheel 100 times and nothing would happen. Anyway, uh-oh. Now this is something that young kids cannot believe. The front bench seat, okay, with the little ashtray holder in the back. Yes, kids, there was once a time in America where cars were like this. People smoked in cars. 3 people would sit on this. How many times did you guys sit in that middle part of the bench in the front? And let me tell you something. You never used the seatbelt when you sat in the middle. So I wonder what this bottle was. It looks like here's a razor. That's interesting. Razor blade, disposable razor. That's very interesting. I wonder why there's a disposable razor in there. All right, so here is the famous trunk of Berkowitz's car, where he, well, kept his guns and all sorts of items. We're gonna write about that. I'm sorry, we're gonna talk about that in Psychiatric Sunday, possibly as early as tomorrow, about how well and maintained he kept his car, and how he had materials in his car. Okay, and maybe we'll see these again. So there's the front of his building. You guys have seen that in my videos a million times. Here's some color photos. So that looks like Lysol. I'm curious. Does that say Lysol right here? It probably does. His car does look messy, Moet. You're right. His car actually looks mad messy, which makes me wonder about his apartment and whether it was actually as clean as we thought it was. Dr. Pepper. He loved Dr. Pepper. Windshield wiper. What's this right here? What's this book? Hey, May. That is Lysol. All right. What's this right here? I'm curious to see what that book is. Does that say inspector? I can't. Somebody's got to do. Thanks, May. Somebody's got to do that for me. I don't know. I don't have time to like screenshot that. Somebody's got to screenshot that and figure out what that is. There's the van. Oh my god. Oh my god. They're filming a snuff film. There's people in there that's filming it. All right, looks like the same photo. Here's some Adidas running shoes. That's interesting. He has sneakers in his car. That's very interesting. Hey, look, here's a brown hat with a white stripe on it. I wonder if this is the hat that unless I'm wrong, is that a hat? Is that not a hat? Is this the brown watch cap that he was wearing at Voskerichian? Again, I'm not saying it was. Please do not misinterpret what I'm saying to you. But here's a hat. Looks like a watch cap. I could be wrong about that. He has running shoes in his car. That's interesting. Changing his shoes. And then what's this right here? Oh, this I actually did blow up yesterday, and I figured out what it is. This is a lighthouse. It's showing here a lighthouse in the ocean. I think this is the Hamptons. I think this is the thing about the Hamptons that what we talked about was in his car. Floor mat on the seat. Let me zoom back out. You never know. This might have been after the cops tossed the car, May. Right? it's very likely that the cops just, I mean, I don't know. They could not have, but to me, it looks like the cops, like, just like his apartment, there's nothing conspiratorial. The cops move stuff and then photograph it. Some people want to make that into a big conspiracy. I don't. And then this is the last photo. This is actually a great photograph, in my opinion, mainly because of this beautiful Cadillac. I remember, like, we were like middle class growing up. We weren't rich. We were certainly not poor, but we certainly weren't rich. But my uncle was rich, and I was always jealous. You always have a rich uncle, right? There's always the rich uncle. And my uncle would always have a new Cadillac, like every time we would go visit him, right? He was a doctor. He made a lot of money. And he loved cars. And I'll never forget, every time we would visit Pennsylvania to go see them, like, he would always have a new Cadillac. So I remember always this beautiful thing that they used to have on cars. I guess it was decorative. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, so that's it. If anybody wants to join in, I'll just put the whoops, no, that was my Twitter. Go to my Twitter. Invite. Boom. Boom. If anybody wants to call in, feel free. Other than that, we are going to end this show pretty soon. I'll take a look at the chat. How many people we got watching? We have 65. Not bad for an impromptu session. Thanks, guys. And I'm sure that some of the people watching are haters. Just know that I'm praying for you guys. I actually feel very sorry for you. I find it to be very sad that there could be such anger present. For what? For some dude from the Bronx analyzing a crime. It's ridiculous. Anyway, all right, so listen, we got a lot of stuff coming up for you. The next couple of days are going to be action packed. In fact, let me get back up my Twitter and show you guys what we got going on. Share window, boom. There we go. So now we have quite a few really, really great shows coming up for you. Okay. The next couple days are going to be amazing. The first one, of course, is the Psychiatric Sunday, How I Did It, with me and Eric tomorrow morning at 11. This is a weekly show that we're going to do until we run out of material. Could end in 3 weeks. It could end in a year. We're not quite sure. Most likely, I'm heading to Puerto Rico for the winter, so things are going to stop there then anyway. I'm not leaving New York, but I'm going to go down and start the farm and getting all that prepared, most likely from November to March. So unlikely you're going to see me very much during then. But hopefully I'll be back after that, and we'll just continue or not. We'll see. We'll see how much demand there is. And then here we got something. And then Monday. Hold on. Where's my Monday show? So Monday we got Tracy Dupay coming back. Tracy is, of course, the daughter of Andrew Dupay, who we see here in, Opaque, a little bit, mystical. And Tracy has shared with me 12 photographs from the old days of the early 70s of her and her family with her father in it. And so we're going to take a look at those. And then with Eric together, we are going to read the Dupay files from Maury Terry's materials and the Queen's DA stuff. And we're going to have Tracy react to it in real time. And I have done already the research up for this upcoming show, and I think I have a major bombshell to announce regarding Maury and Andrew Dupay. I'm going to announce it. I'm not going to say that it's the absolute hard fact and the truth, because, again, I don't do that. I'm just here, one man, giving you my opinions, okay? Trying to steer this investigation in a sane way, right? Not this insanity that you're seeing other people get into. Which is absolutely ridiculous. But in either case, I think I have a major bombshell to throw you guys that I discovered about Maury Terry and Andrew Dupay. And then this show coming up is going to be, I have a sneaky suspicion about this one. So we got the DJ from Peachtree coming on, Tony Amato. I spoke to this guy and I vetted him out. He's telling us the truth. Berkowitz was at Peachtree. He spoke to him many, many times. this guy Amato's father was Berkowitz's supervisor at the post office. And you didn't hear it from me, guys. You didn't hear it from me. But a little birdie told me, possibly, maybe, that in this show with Tony Amato and Mike and Gary are going to co-host with this on me, the name Donna Lauria may come up once or twice. It is possible. It just might. Tony Amato, the DJ from Peachtree, may have a Donna Lauria story for us. I'm not saying that it's going to happen. All I'm saying is what I heard through the grapevine. And that's pretty much it. All right, so no one's calling in. That's fine. Guys are a bunch of... How come Eric is the only one that calls in? Eric and Gary. We also have a few other people, but we got to get some more callers in here. I feel so lonely. Anyway, yeah, DJ, it is amazing that the folks are still in this area. And what's amazing is that they're talking and then that they're actually seeking us out to speak. And of course, where else are they going to go? We're the top people in the Son of Sam space in the world for the people of the world, and no one else can even come close. So, all right. I think that's pretty much it. Okay. Tommy Three Fingers has been quite a prolific commenter today. Never heard of him before, but we're going to assume that he has his heart in the right spot. And that's basically it. All right, guys. I'm just gonna end this here because, well, what's the point of continuing when I don't have anything else to say? So we got 3 killer shows coming up. Amazing shows coming up for you guys. I'm so happy that I can bring you guys this stuff because not only is it fun for me, but I am learning so much myself. So what were the takeaways for today's show? 1, Richie Sparrazza was interviewed by NYPD and Yonkers PD, seemingly pretty intensely, and they found nothing. All right. So you can cross Sparrazza off your list. I'm crossing Sparrazza off my list. Okay. Number 2, we saw a document from the police that totally throws cold water on a major cultist that Maury wrote about in the epilogue of The Ultimate Evil, one James Cann'd, C-A-N-N. We learned in this police report that Cann'd visited 35 Pine Street because his mother lived there. And so from that, we can just basically glean that he probably ran into Berkowitz a few times, learned his nickname, not a big deal, and was a local nutcase, right? But unless I actually see James Cann'd mentioned with Berkowitz in an actual letter written by Berkowitz, yeah, I worked with James Cann'd. Yeah, I worked with Richie Sparrazza. Yes, I knew John Carr, because I'm actually seeing the opposite. I'm seeing no mentions of Cann'd, Sparrazza at all. I'm seeing that he says that he didn't know John Carr. And as we've already shown, he learned John Carr's name from the freaking phone book. I mean, this whole thing is becoming ridiculous. It's so simple, guys. Berkowitz got out of the army. All his friends abandoned him. He felt lonely, misanthropic. He started getting into these weird religions and started reading about all sorts of occultic stuff, getting into the mind of the demons in him, which he said he got the idea from his religious conversion in Kentucky. Okay. Then with all that loneliness and then all the pressures with the no job, the lack of future, the no woman, and then all of a sudden bring in the noise. This is a guy who had serious issues with noise, and you have a recipe for disaster. It all came together, unfortunately, perfectly to create the mass murdering monster, David Berkowitz, known as Son of Sam. Okay, I'm not saying that other people didn't work with them. Who are they? What were their names? What was their roles? How come we've never heard of any of these people after the fact? How come the police have investigated these people, cleared them totally? If you want to come at me with this cult crap, you're going to have to start bringing names and receipts. Okay. Other than that, I don't want to know you, because to me, this is a very mundane crime now. In fact, do we really even need to continue this video series? Yes, we do. We're having fun. Yes, we do. But what's so hard to believe about a guy losing it and killing people? Okay. Not very hard to believe, especially when you read Berkowitz's writings. The guy was crazy, plain and simple. All right, so I think that's basically it. We have some major stuff coming up tomorrow. Hey, here's Matt. Hey, what's
Hey,
up, Matt?
hey, how are you doing, Manny?
Good, great to see you again.
Hey, the only thing, and I'm everything you said today, I think is spot on. But the Sparazzi guy, what wasn't one of the detectives interviewed him or said that they placed him with Berkowitz and that he went out with them the night of Christmas Eve, the night that the dog got shot, or he saw
No,
he
no,
came
no,
to his place, right?
no. You're conflating a few different things. Go back and listen to the Speraza interview.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely states that they were together on New Year's Eve on December 24th. He didn't say the
Christmas
actual
Eve,
right. He didn't.
right?
Sorry, Christmas. He didn't actually say the evening. What he said to and what he copped to was that Berkowitz came to his house that day. They had a few drinks to celebrate Christmas Eve, and that Berkowitz and the other guy who was there, they all went on their way and they never saw each other again that day.
But
But
that's the same. But that's the same night that the dog got shot at the Nettos, and they saw him running down the road, getting into a car. So
absolutely
what I'm saying,
into a
right,
passenger side of a car, absolutely, which is why the great detective Mike Lorenzo aptly pointed out to me, he was the first person that actually noticed this out of all the people analyzing this stuff, that out of all the people who've been with Berkowitz, the only one that we have with Berkowitz on that day is Speraza, but
right,
we don't have him any other place other than the house.
right,
This isn't to say that it didn't happen, or I mean, he could have been with him that night, but we actually have no proof of it. The only thing we have is that they were together that day, and the fact that they were driving partners. But
right.
again, we're putting that together in our own heads, but there's no actual factual basis that Richie was the driver that night. No.
In your prior show, I think it was the Bakarichian, I forget my pronunciation. The witness said that he jogged right by him and he had a clear look at his face, and he confirmed that it was Berkowitz. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Correcto.
Okay, so I went back and I looked at I guess it's what the 91 or 93 interview with Maury Terry, that when he goes over and interviews Berkowitz, and Berkowitz says that he comped up to like two of the murders, but the other ones he said that, he didn't have any part of.
Right.
So I was thinking, well, that right there shows that he lied, because if the guy had a clear view picture of him running right by him, then we know that he lied. Now, my theory is, Manny, that when Maury started talking to Berkowitz and saying, hey, I think you're a part of a cult and everything, I think Berkowitz invited that and said, because I was like you, when you first started the series, I was like, well, this guy was a pawn, and I started feeling sorry for the guy, And the thing is, if you think about from Berkowitz's perspective, if you comp up the two of the whatever, how many other murders there were, then, and you go along and say, yeah, I was part of a group, and these people were manipulating me and all this stuff, and it was a cult and everything. Well, then everybody starts having sympathy for you.
Right.
And not only that, I think that he probably maybe he thought that, well, maybe if I parlay this, then because if you comp up the two murders, life sentences are 25 each, right? 25 years. So he thought maybe in his mind that he could get out and when he was older, around like 70 years old, to get pardoned.
It's possible, but his comping to those two murders to an interview on TV had no legal merit or basis. It wasn't going to change his. It wasn't going to change. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but it wasn't going to change his sentencing in any way, shape, or form, because he was just talking to Maury. NYPD was probably looking at him, going, "Let him talk, whatever whatever these guys want to do." But yeah, I think your other observations, Matt, were spot on. I think that when the history of this is written, we're going to see a codependent relationship between Berkowitz and Maury Terry that really was a match made in hell. And they both used each other for their own purposes and nefarious aims. But that's, again, my opinion. But I think that your instincts are correct. And you've been a great listener and viewer and watcher, and we really appreciate it. Any other statements or questions?
No, just keep up the good work, Manny, and I'll tune in tomorrow and watch the Psychiatric Sunday.
Well, Matt, I truly appreciate it, my friend. We'll see you soon, okay? And
All
don't be
right,
a stranger.
All right,
thanks.
we'll do. Bye.
Take care, buddy. Bye. All right. So there was a couple things in the chat that were coming in when Matt was on that I wanted to address, but I didn't want to be rude. Okay, question. How would DB know John Carr number from the telephone directory? Would the number not be in his father's name? It was in John's name, John Wheat Carr, 3, and he knew their address, so it wasn't that hard. And plus, Patrick, phone books in those days had lookup by address, not just by name. So it was very, very easy for him to find these names. And in fact, he did, because he was calling John Carr, John Wheat Carr, for forever before the Son of Sam letter came out. In his private writings, he was calling him John Wheat. So I hope that answered that question. Here we go. Sam, you got a lot to catch up on, my friend. What about the Untermeyer dog killing cult? Was that totally unrelated to Berkey's own obsession with German Shepherds? Yes. Untermeyer Park, and I'm going to do a show on this, had zero bupkis F all to do with Son of Sam. Were there occultists in Untermeyer Park? Absolutely. Were there occultists in the golf course a mile up the road? Absolutely. Were there occultists at Lenoir Preserve half a mile up the road? Absolutely. Were there occultists in Pelham Bay Park? Absolutely. Were there occultists in Van Cortlandt Park? Absolutely. Were there occultists in St. Joseph Cemetery, just 3/4 of a mile from from Untermeyer? Absolutely. I think you get my point. There was occultists everywhere up there in Yonkers, probably the same groups that were just changing locations. And they were older men. They were middle-aged men. Some Lorenzo was telling me he saw Connecticut license plates. These people had nothing to do with David Berkowitz whatsoever. So yes, Maury took a sociological phenomenon that was actually happening in the park, and he then brought it into Son of Sam, just like he took Arliss Perry and brought it into Son of Sam, and just like he took Roy Radin and brought it into Son of Sam, and just like he took Charles Manson and North Dakota and brought them into Son of Sam. Okay, but luckily we're cleaning up this guy's messes. All right, let's see. Anything? All right, so I think that's pretty much it. All right, an hour and a half. I was only trying to get 45 minutes today, so I think we're done, guys. So excellent show. Thank you so much, guys, and we will see you, well, tomorrow morning, less than 24 hours. Take care, guys.